Welcome to Business on the Vine. I'm your host, Lady Jen Du Plessis, and in this dynamic series, we dive into the challenges, breakthroughs, and victories of entrepreneurs who have turned their passion into success. Welcome. Well, welcome. So glad to have you here today. With me today is my dear friend, David M. Corbin. I have to make sure I get the M in there because there may be a lot of Davids out there, but you are the first one that pops up in Google, David. So you're good to go. But thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm always delighted to see you, Jen.
Oh, same here. Same here. So, one of the things that I want, someone who's listening here to know is that you were also on Business on the Vine, our TV show that will be released sometime in the spring of 2025. But while we're waiting for that to happen, we still want to talk more about some of the other things that you've been doing and, to be able to share this on Business on the Vine. And I think your expertise, I'll just do a little background here. Your expertise, obviously, is in speaking and coaching. You've got some health background, as well. I don't want to speak out of turn because I don't have that in front of me right now, but I know I always get nervous when I have to say if someone's a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a physiologist, a somethingologist, right? and
Well, I'm
that
just a psycho, so we'll
yeah,
just
you're a
leave it at that.
psychoanalyst, right? And a psychology guy. And so, that really puts you in a great position because, every time we talk, and really I don't care, but it is funny sometimes when I talk to you because I'm like, oh, is he analyzing me? What is he thinking today? But it really helps in business, obviously, and as a leader and as a mentor to others in business, that certainly helps, with you. But the thing that is so great about your personality, and I know that you've been called the Robin Williams, with an MBA, and you are funnier than a crutch, and your stories are just so funny. But I don't want to discredit the fact that you know business. You have fun doing it, you love doing it, and business. And that's what I really want to spotlight and highlight today with you. And so the first question that I have is, where are small business owners and companies, and they may be two different answers here, but where are small business owners and companies missing the mark in today's world?
Well, that's a big question.
It's a big question because you can go in any direction you want, my
That
friend.
that is a huge question.
Yeah.
We have enough time. We'll talk about the top 322 areas that they're missing.
Right.
You know,
Let's
it,
talk about branding. Let's talk about branding and getting
um,
exposure. Maybe it's opportunity generation. I don't like lead generation because I think it's all opportunity, right? But where are they missing the mark and saying, I'm not sleeping well at night. I can't seem to figure something out. Where do you think is the biggest mark that they're missing?
well, one of them today is we all have a brand, whether we know it or not, whether we work on it or not. We have a brand, we have a reputation. So what people
Mm-hmm.
say about us. Oh, let me
Mm-hmm.
oh, Jen, sure, I know Jen. Let me tell you. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
David, sure. I remember, So we all have a brand, right? It's a default reputation. And I like to joke and say, like, if you walk into a restroom just to wash your hands, a public restroom, you're just going to wash your hands, and somebody's in the stall over there on the cell phone, right?
No.
And
Yeah.
they're talking, which we've all heard, right?
Right.
And they're talking about you.
Mm.
What do you want to hear them say about you when
Yeah.
they don't know that you're there? That's your true reputation. When you say, what are people missing? They're
Mm.
missing that, man. They're
Yeah.
missing that. They're missing the fact that they are known by X, 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 and Y, Y, Y. And if they don't know what they're known by, and if they don't proactively live into how they want to be known by, they're missing the boat.
Yeah, that's interesting. And that's where that brand slaughter comes in, is increasing that awareness, right? And this is why your book on Illuminate, right, is all about spotlighting everything that we do and making sure that, we don't walk into a room, so to speak, and not think for a moment that someone isn't looking and watching and listening. and observing, every move that we make. And especially in business as a leader, those people that are part of our team are watching our every move. They're watching our decisions and how we react and respond to different things. Right. And so that, I think, and that's part of reputation as well. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, I've got all kinds of stories in that world. Right.
Well, when we when we as parents, when we as community members, when we as business owners, managers, leaders, supervisors, and employees, when we come to the realization that we live on the stage of a microscope,
Mm-hmm.
and we are indeed being observed,
Mm-hmm.
all the world is a stage, that Shakespeare says.
Yeah.
Uh, that business up the road from me, based upon the identity of a rodent called Disneyland, um, they tell their employees, they call their employees, do you know what they call them? They call them cast members.
Yes. Yeah.
Cast members. I wrote about this 28 years ago in one of my first books, actually my first book called Psyched on Service, that indeed they know what we now know, that we are cast members and we're living on the stage of life, and they're watching us, as are our children, our co-workers, our employees, and all. It's like, honey, bring. I want to talk to you about how important it is to not smoke cigarettes. But bring Daddy an ashtray first. Okay.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
the hypocrisy,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
doctor saying, "Oh, I care about you," and yes, and blah, blah, blah. Tell them I'll be there in a minute. Anyway, I said I'll be there in a, anyway, I mean, this hypocrisy is is absurd. So, number one, yeah, I would say number one, you have a reputation. It's so important that you know it. And oh, by the way, if you work with a company, Jen, you talked about the ability to sleep comfortably at night. Well, I own a business. It's a successful business based upon my brand, my this and that. And any one of my employees in the restaurant can bring the cup over to a customer with their thumb in it and destroy my entire reputation overnight. So number two thing, in my opinion, that they're missing is making sure that everyone who is carrying the credibility and reputation of the brand knows how it is to be carried.
Yeah.
What is their
That's
respective role in living the brand?
Mhm.
Or
And that's, starts at top down. I mean, there's so many I wouldn't say companies, but some have some challenges, right? But just the small business owner, the entrepreneur, the mid-level, gosh, even a mid-level client that I have, who's doing millions every year, and has a small company, 45 employees, and it's a brick and mortar type of company, have these kinds of challenges where they don't know the vision of their business. They don't know the values of the business, the non-negotiables of what do we, should we be responding to people every 2 minutes, or within 24 hours is good enough? And that's okay if it is, but the issue is that our leaders in these companies don't know the answer to that question. Therefore, they've not said anything to the team members. And if they do know the answer, I guess the question that I'm asking people, you are listening in and watching, is have you told them? If you know, have you told them? Right. And so tell us a little bit about that, because I know that, in Illuminate, one of the things that you talk about, and you've talked on stage too, is asking your company what it wants from you. And I'm probably paraphrasing the way that you say it more eloquently, but so if someone doesn't have that vision and those values, or know what their brand wants to be, how do they start pulling that together?
well, there's two important points that you bring up there, amongst many, and you and I always have these robust conversations
Yeah.
because we don't just talk about business. we have our own businesses.
Mm-hmm.
We're not, it, yeah. So what I want to say is on the two things are not, first, get really, really clear on having a conversation with your business. And we talked about this on your TV showgram. And I'm
Yeah.
excited for when your shows come out because I've seen the taping of some of those shows, and they're such cool programs. Just in the one day that I was there,
Yeah.
you had Greg Reed, Mel Mason. I mean,
Yeah.
just in that one day, I'm sitting there waiting for my turn. I'm like, oh, this is good stuff. So if anybody who's watching or listening right now, that show is going to be kick ass and you're going to dig it. So
Okay.
there's my plug for your
Thank
show
you. Thank
because
you.
I believe it's and
Thank you.
I want to say that yeah, I think it's important for us as practical, realistic business owners and leaders to trip out and ask our business as though the business can talk back, right? Ask
Mhm.
us two questions. And you've heard me say this. I've talked about it on a TED talk and probably mentioned it on your show. And those two questions are you ready for this drum roll? It's very simple. Drum
Get
roll.
your pen ready.
Hey, business. And I do suggest you write this down, everyone. Hey, business. Question number one. What do you need me to do? What do you need me to do?
Mhm.
What are the core job functions that you need me as a sales manager, as a business owner, as a supervisor, or as a salesperson? Business, what do you need me to do? And you trip out and make believe you can hear the business. So, well, what would
Mhm.
the business say? Well, the business would say, I need to do this. And you write it down. I need to do that. Write it down. Then you ask the business another question. Hey, business, who do you need me to be? Who do you need
Mhm.
me to be? And you listen to the business, and she will tell you the qualities and characteristics that you need to bring to bear to do a magnificent job. And then, because you're tripping out and you can hear your business talk, I joke and say, okay, well, now you're tripping. Let's get naked like we did at Woodstock. And
Right.
and then but it's not naked of clothing. That's the easy part. But
Mhm.
naked of ego, and honestly look at these lists, the do list and the be list, and analyze and rate yourself on your ability to bring it tomorrow. It's like, well, in this, I guess I'm an 8. This, scale of 1 to 10. This, I'm a 10. Yay, me. This one, well, I guess realistically, from what I heard recently, I'm a 6. And you get serious about it. And this is basic performance gap analysis. It's so simple, but it's profoundly simple. And when you do
Mhm.
that and you start closing the gaps, I always say your competence goes up, but
Yeah.
also with your competence goes
Confidence.
your confidence.
Right.
And so that's one thing that you had mentioned is, what can you do? So you look at that, and one of the things on that list is, hey, you need to manage your reputation in the marketplace. That's one of
Mhm.
the things on your list is reputation management.
Mhm.
And so with that, there's a formula that because we say, look, you're either building your brand in everything you do, and that's brand integrity, and that's the good news. The other stuff, which is the better news, in my opinion, is finding out where you're out of integrity with your brand. You see, I don't want to go to
Yeah.
the doctor and have them say, "Oh, David, your kidney's great, your pancreas is fine. Oh, you're here." I don't want to hear the good. Yeah, I want to know that. I want to know where it ain't good.
Yeah.
And so when we find
Yeah.
out where we're out of integrity with our brand through our behaviors, our actions, the front door to our retail store having smudges all over it, or non-responsiveness, or having a conversant where you're on the phone going, I hate this company. I hate this company. So when you find out where you're committing brand slaughter, the
Yeah.
good news is now you sort of close those gaps. And I have a formula for that, but but I'll just pause and say those are the two
Yeah.
things.
And I love the formula too. And people can see that in your book, right? And we'll have the link for your book in our show notes and stuff. They can get the formula. Um, yeah, I think that you say, you said quite a few things. And I was thinking, as business owners, and again, I just keep reminding everybody, this is Business on the Vine, right? Where we're talking about, I heard it through the grapevine, right? All of these pieces of information that make us better in what we're doing in our business. And as you're talking about, what does my company need me to do? And what does it need me to be from a character perspective? I want to just ask you about the do part, because as you were talking about it, I thought, okay, so for mine, the first thing that I started doing was talking about what I don't want, not what I do want. So, in that process, for someone who's listening here, is it okay? And I imagine it is, but is it okay to say what you don't want and then convert that to this is what I need to do? So, for example, if I said, and this is not my thing because I can't think of it, but let's just say, I don't want to come into the office at 10 o'clock every day. I want to start getting in earlier and doing some other administrative work or something, like get my act together. I don't want to be showing up late. Then if the only strategy that they have, because sometimes it's hard, like if I said to you, what are your core values? It's hard for people to, I know you know them and I know mine, but it's hard for people to determine what their core values are unless they say what they don't like. So for example, I might say to my clients when I'm talking to them is, do you like people to be dishonest? Oh, no, I want people to be honest. Okay, well, then that's a core value. So is it okay for someone to go down the negative path to convert it to a positive path? Or do you recommend that we just stay away from that completely?
No, I mean, it's different strokes for different folks. I mean, some people work in an area of what we call the oppositional reflex, which is what
Mhm.
you're talking about, the oppositional
Yeah,
reflex.
there, because you're a psychologist. I got it.
No,
I'm giving you a hard time. I'm giving you a hard time, David.
I, first of all, I'm not a psychologist. I
I
was a
know.
psychotherapist, and
I
now I'm a
know.
psycho. But yeah, I mean, some people work in that way. Look,
Yeah.
here's the key. The key is, what do you value in others? And
Mm,
what you value in others is going to inform what you value about yourself.
yeah.
So I promise you, when you say to someone, boy, that Jen, she's awesome. She's awesome.
Mhm.
Why? Well, because of this, this, and this. I
Mhm.
promise you, those are the things that you love and respect in yourself, because that's why you see them. And when you start
Yeah.
missing someone and saying
Yeah.
they suck because of this, 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 and this, I guarantee you that you don't like that part of yourself. And I know that
Interesting.
the hard way because I have in my mind condemned people for this and this and this,
And then went and looked in the mirror.
and then realized,
Yeah.
OMG,
Yeah.
it it was the point at which I realized that I am a sinner.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
recognize and appreciate um, the blessings of the Lord, and to try to purge for that,
Yeah.
because my whole life I was like, I'm not a sinner. What are you talking about? Well, you know what? Yeah.
Right. We'd like to believe that and that we won't die, right? That we're going to
Well, I'm
escape
not
that.
gonna.
We're going
I'm.
to escape it. I'm not going to be the one. Yeah. I think you bring up a couple of really good points. I mean, one is, and I've always used this analogy, in talking is that we have a tendency to go, well, they weren't good and they this and they that and the other, and by the way, if you're listening and not seeing, I'm pointing with my finger, but rather than doing some pointing, right? Of wait a minute, it's me that's not. I wasn't prepared. I hired them too quickly. I wasn't ready to onboard them. It's not that they're bad. They're really good at what they do, but I wasn't prepared to bring them onto my team. Right. And I think that that's really good. Another thing I just want to get your perspective on is you brought up this point, and oh my gosh, there's so many things I want to talk about with you. It's just amazing. But you bring up this point about what we see in other people, and we just well, several years ago there was a gentleman in my area, a community leader who passed away, and the pastor at the funeral services said, when people die, everyone says, I always loved his laugh. If you called him, he would do anything for you. If you asked her, she would drop everything. And he said, what if we took all of that, all of the people that we know and all of the people that passed away, and we found that one thing that we love so much about them, and we start incorporating it into our lives? Imagine how much more fulfilled our lives would be, our business would be. And so I love that you're saying that in the business perspective as well. And I know you work in personal and professional development, but I love that you're saying it in the business perspective as well. Is what do you like in other businesses that you're seeing? Take note, increase your awareness. If you see that that's a really cool thing in another business, grab it, make it your own, grab it and say, ooh, that's good. I want that too. So what are your thoughts about that too? And I'm not talking about stealing and purging. I'm just saying, hey, that's really cool. I really like that they do that. I should maybe think about doing that with my practice too.
That's one way of identifying what we like and respect, what we love and admire, and
Mhm.
then we integrate it in. I just got off a Zoom meeting with a client in Amman, Jordan. And, I got off of that meeting. There was a bunch of people and I do my mentoring and consulting and all. And I took a screen capture of the little
Hey,
boxes
hang
of,
tight.
and, I just got off a Zoom meeting with some clients and people I'm working with in the Middle East, in Amman, Jordan, the capital of Jordan. And afterwards, before as we were saying goodbye, I grabbed the screenshot with my camera to see the beautiful faces of these individuals who are also asking and learning some of these questions. You see, self introspection and business development and expansion really knows no cultural um, borders.
Boundaries. Yeah.
We are all sort of the same, and so I always advise and counsel, to thine own self be true, and it shall follow as the night the day. Thou canst not, be false to any other. Know who you are. Know who you are, what you stand for, what you represent, and that ain't difficult if you just stop, pause, and listen. And yes, where there's so many cues and clues out there in the market, it could be, and I love that model of what qualities and characteristics did you love and admire in that individual who recently passed? What did you hear in their celebration of life? What are some of those things? And you want to adopt and adapt some of those things. And then, that personal inventory of how we want to be known. Years ago, I was working with the CEO of a Fortune 20 company, and it was not popular then, but we were doing something where we'd have them write their obituary. Now it's pretty common to contemplate and write the qualities and characteristics and work backwards from there. Look, here's the skinny. Once you have that list, and I really didn't put the formula out in any of my books. I've been talking about it, but I never put the formula.
Oh, I
It,
didn't realize because
yeah,
I
no,
have it written down.
no,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't put it in the
Yeah.
Illuminated
Yeah.
brand. The Illuminated brand is the latest book that I'd written on the branding component. But this formula, when you work through this formula and you have a list of these words that you want to be described by, right? And so I call them IBDs. And people go, that sounds like a stomach issue. It's
Right.
not. It's intended brand descriptors, IBDs. And you have that list. And you know what that list is informed by what you just said, Jen. How are people described in this celebration of life? that could help inform that list. And
Yeah.
what you admire in others, that can inform. But you have this list of maybe 10 or 20 brand descriptors. They're adjectives that, and it might be caring, funny, intelligent, responsive, whatever. And when you have that list, then the next step with the IBD is what we call an ABI. And that stands for an audit of brand integrity. Now, I always hope and pray that what
Yeah.
I share is noteworthy. So I'm hoping people are taking notes on this. And
Hmm.
on that formula there at IBD times ABI, audit of brand integrity. So now you've got the list. Now, what is an audit of brand integrity? You trip out in your mind and go, who am I in contact with? What touch points do I have? Prospects, fellow workers, customers, vendors, whomsoever, affiliates, uh, colleagues, and you say, on this list over here of my touch points, and on this list over here of my intended brand descriptors, I go, caring customers, am I living,
Yeah.
earning that? That's brand integrity. And if I'm
Hmm.
not, that's brand slaughter. And I got to get to work on that. So that's the audit. And then if you're writing this down, it's IBD times ABI, order of brand integrity, plus SBI. And what is SBI? It's strategic business initiatives. What can I do to close the gap? Oh, well, caring customers, maybe I could drip on them with just an occasional email or text. Hey, thinking about you.
Hmm.
Remember the time we did such and such? Wasn't that a blast? Silly little drive
I
by.
do it to you all the time.
I know you do. And I
And you
love
do it to me. We
it.
both do it to each other and almost in sequence. And it's not on on a calendar. It's just I wake up and I go, I got to talk to David today. Right?
It's following, and I feel the kiss on the cheek. That's what
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah.
As opposed to you ignore someone and you feel the kick to their other cheek in their butt because it's like you're saying you care about me, but you're not showing it. So intended brand descriptors, audit of brand integrity, strategic brand initiative, all equals MBV. MBV, massive brand value. When you do this formula, you can't not have a very cool brand value. It gives you also some brand immunity. So when someone else is trying to romance your client away, you've got some brand immunity. It also gives you some brand immunity when you're aware of this, that your employees and you know how you are behaving in concert with your intended brand descriptors. And
Yeah.
that's a huge
Absolutely.
asset in any organ. So you're either
Absolutely.
integrity or committing brand
Yeah.
slaughter in the first second. Now, if Vicky, who I finally got to meet, and I was so happy to meet Vicky.
And we should let everyone know who she is. She's
Vicky
my
the Great,
operations director. Yeah.
Vicky the Great. And Vicky, when I finally got to meet her, Vicky carries your brand splendidly. Now, if Vicky reached out to me and said, hey, David, you said you're going to be on Jen's podcast, but you haven't responded. What's up with you?
Right.
Now, she would be committing brand slaughter, and
Right.
you, dear Jen, you would be convicted for brand slaughter in the second degree. You
Yes.
can't get
I,
off and say, Your Honor, I didn't
I
do it.
didn't pull the
Vicky did.
gun. Right. I didn't pull the gun. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And it's so true. I speak to that as, managing the message, or it's your voice, making sure that your voice is there because, this happens with everything, right? McDonald's, you go to McDonald's and they say, "Can I take your order?" And you go to Starbucks and they say, "What can we get started for you?" That's the brand. That is all the brand. And it's, and you walk into Walmart and somebody says, welcome to Walmart, right? uh, and that is part of the brand and the voice. And that's really important too in business. And I think that a lot of people just miss that. I think there's so much and not to say that we shouldn't be doing this, but there's so many opportunity seeking and marketing like that, that there's not any focus in what is really important. Once someone does decide to work with you, then is there a disconnect from what you promoted and marketed to what you actually are? And that's what you were just talking about in the formula. And I absolutely love that. Yeah, I love it. So I want to ask you something as we tidy up our time together today. Is you've mentored a lot of people. And when you think back on this luminous career that you have, right? You have this beautiful career that you've had for the last 30 years or so. Who comes to mind as, a success story for you? Because that's something that business owners are looking for as well. Is I want to be able to always identify a success story so that I can share that with others who are maybe on the fence about working with someone, or to, share the pride or something that puts a smile on your face that someone made it through.
Well,
And you're
happily,
already smiling, so you have somebody.
I am. I don't know who to highlight. I really don't know who to highlight. I can tell you it warms my heart when I mentor someone and I'll do a 6 month or a 12-month mentoring with them. And around the third month, we're having a hard time scheduling our next session because their business is so successful.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, here's the deal. I want to remind you, you're not paying me for my time so much as for the results. And
Yeah.
so if you're already getting the results, don't worry about not being able to do our next session. Be fruitful and multiply your sales and your business and stuff. And so here's something. So there's that. But here's another one that just I melt when I think about this. I have a client. This guy grew up in Compton, California. Now everybody knows Compton, California. And he grew up in a high school where there were gangs on they were surrounded by four different gangs.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
At 12 years old, he two times he held the dying body of his 12-year-old friend from gunshot wounds. This would turn anybody into like an animal. No, not him. Not Jorge. Jorge grew up, lived in the back of a car with his mom for a period of time. I mean, you got the picture, right? We're
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
Horatio story here. He grew up, shovel in hand, blah blah blah. I won't give you the whole detail, but now he was a partner in a huge construction company that built highways, bridges. He got licenses. He designed these bridges. Okay. And then he got COVID. He was told he probably will not wake up the next day. That'll shift your thinking. He
Absolutely. Yeah.
two weeks before he lost both his mom and dad from COVID. Now
Mm.
he's got the COVID thing. His perspective, he wants to create a business for his children. How old are his children? 19, 20, 21. He wants them to run the business. So I tell you all of this to say, he said to me, Tio David, which is Uncle David, Tio David, you're mentoring me. Would you mentor my children? And I said, I'd love to. And I did. And these three young people are running a $10 million business.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They're just kicking it because one-on-one. And then he said, Tio David, I know you have some space in the back of your property where we smoke a cigar once in a while. And I know you love pickleball. May I build you a pickleball court?
Oh, he built that for you. Wow.
Where you and I,
Yeah.
that's where we had the bar on my big party.
Yep, on your big birthday.
But this is the
Yeah.
stuff, folks,
Yeah.
as you're listening to this, whom are you making a difference in their life? Every day, ask yourself, Who can I bless and serve today? I promise you, it will build your brand, build your business, it will build your pocketbook, and most importantly, I'm not into KPIs anymore. I'm into KFIs, and I just trademarked this, key fulfillment indicators.
Yeah, yeah.
Fulfillment indicators. You'll be fulfilled. Mic drop.
You have to get one of those stuffed mics. They actually exist. Go on Amazon and look for a stuffed mic, and his name is Mike. And but he comes with these little legs that look like a shrimp, right?
Yeah.
So I cut his legs off. I feel bad, but I did. I cut his little legs off, his little stuffed legs off. But I do have a mic so that you can actually mic drop on Zoom.
That would be great because I do it all the time. I use that as an example of saying, as the Indians, Native Americans would say, aho. Aho means, yes, I am done and settled. And I
Yeah.
say, mic drop in that regard. That's
Yeah, that's
very,
beautiful. You know, David, I want to say, well, first of all, I want to thank you for taking time to be on the show here. And, for you listening, I hope what, he's dropping to you today, that one, you've taken notes, two, you got to listen to it again. Um, but it's a beautiful combination between mindset and mechanics. You're right. Those are the two things. It's the two things between mindset and mechanics. And the reason why I'm saying that is because one of my mottos is mindset plus mechanics equals momentum. And you can't just will it, and you can't just be mechanical and not have this piece of the identification of your awareness, right? Awareness of who you are, how you're presenting yourself, how you want to be, who you want to be, what you should do to get there. And that's what I love about what you do, David, is it's such a great combination, that I don't know, it's just like an internal, how we say level up? Everybody's, oh, we got to level you up and take you to the next level. This is like filling up your cup inside so that you can go to that next level. It's a different type of leveling up, and it's just beautiful. So thank you for sharing it with us today.
and I want to thank my mentor, Frank Sinatra, who informed this about being and doing in his famous song, Doobie Doobie Doo. Doobie
I love
Doobie.
that. I love that. I
Mindset
love
and mechanics.
Yeah. And I mean, it's had a profound effect on me, even when we were working recently with a colleague who had, something go wrong in their family, an accident, and I said, what can I do? What can I do? And you said, don't do. What could you be
You're
for
right.
them? And it sat with me. I mean, obviously, you don't even know that, right? And this was several months ago, and it sat with me. And I just lost one of my 36 cousins last week, out of the blue, 54 years old. And the first thing I thought is, what can I do for you? And then I thought, oh gosh, no, that's not what I'm going to ask.
Mm.
I'm going to ask, how can I be for them? Right? How can I be there for them? So I want to thank you for that, because that's what we need to be doing as leaders, not just the do, but the be, right? So I love it.
You
Love
are a
it.
very good student, Grasshopper.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Thank you
I am
very much.
loving very much how you are very good student.
Hey, I'm a wax on, wax off kind of girl. I constantly am doing that. So what parting thoughts might you have for us today?
Three words for the entrepreneur, for the podcaster, for the business owner. I love you. Love, as my friend Steve Farber writes about, love is just damn good business. Keep loving your business, loving your heart. Ask yourself in everything you do during the day, as often as you could remember, what does love look like in this situation?
Yeah, gosh, it's strong. That's beautiful. Thank you. And I need it for my hubby, right? So this transcends into our personal lives too. It's not just, for our kids, for our family members, for our friends, and especially at this time, we just finished up an election that there's so much division and all of that that's happening, and people just need to love each other.
There was an election? Why didn't somebody tell me this? By the way, your hubby is easy to love. Your
He's
daughter,
very easy to love.
son-in-law, your grandson, your son, they're easy to love.
Yeah,
And
they are.
and some others ain't so easy to love, and that's where we need to get to work.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Well, again, thank you so much, David. And for you listening, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. And we will have some show notes for you, some links that you can catch up with David, follow him, see what he's up to, work with him, grab a book of his, watch his TED Talk, his TEDx talk. That's awesome as well. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much, David, for joining us today. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on Business on the Vine. If you found value in today's conversation and would like additional support, go to supportfromjen.com. Remember, the best ideas are always discovered on the Vine, so keep innovating, stay inspired, and continue to grow.